This is the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast. This is VP. We're a solutions-based podcast, diving into the world of contrarian investing and alternative finance. You can find us hosted on the No Nonsense Forex YouTube channel, NoNonsenseForex.com, and podcast players everywhere. Episode 217 is brought to us by Bybit. You know, Bybit is not just a trading platform, it is an entire ecosystem. You can buy your crypto there on their spot market. You can stake it for a lot more than you could on a lot of DeFi platforms. You can use the Bybit credit card. It's all right there. You don't need some slow-ass bank. You can just be your own bank and let Bybit handle the whole thing front to back. Oh, and by the way, you get bonuses for it if you click my link, which you can find in the Bybit blog down below in the show notes. Click that, scroll to the bottom, that's where my link is, and get yourself signed up. We had a lot of signups this week. People are starting to figure out that with Bybit, membership has its rewards. It is the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast, and last Wednesday I tweeted out a bit of a humble brag saying that the last three entry positions that we have mentioned here on the show have all gone on to do pretty well so far. Now, one of those was Jupiter. It's up 20%, or it was at the time. I can't really take credit for that. Jupiter pretty much just went up with the overall beta of the market. But MP Materials was a fantastic selection, as was SWE. And both of those have done more than triple. And we did not mention them that long ago. Now, these are fairly unrealistic expectations in terms of how quick you can see something like this happen. But those who have been with this podcast from the start, you know, this is just what our positions do. We look for asymmetry, and when we get it, we get it. And this is what it looks like. And we do take losses, but when we do, they're very infrequent. So when you have not many losses and a lot of wins, and those wins run really far, contrarians, this is why we invest the way we do. It's been great for my portfolio, and I hope it's been great for yours too. But the one thing I really want to do here is not be a signal service. I absolutely hate when people think I am a signal service. Now, I made the decision at the beginning that at least when it comes to crypto positions, I was going to be very transparent. And I even decided to let a few of my other stock trades be known at the time I entered as well. But I don't always do that. But what I'm really trying to do here is the exact same thing I did with my Forex trading material. It's like I am trying to get you to be able to do this on your own. Trust me, there was nothing worse than all of the lazy parasites, which is probably about 80-85% of my subscriber base at the time, who just wanted me to bleed out my indicators or live trade and show everybody what trades I was making. That was never the point of No Nonsense Forex, and that's not the point of anything I do here. So I'm not going to bury the lead for too long, but I will for a little while because I don't think I've ever really sat down and done this. I want everybody to know exactly how we set up our entry positions here at the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast. Because if you know that, then you really don't need me. And that's been the goal this entire time. But when it comes to our investing, it's even more exciting to me because so many of these positions that have already ran, like a lot, like the reason we invested in them, that thing that we are expecting to happen, hasn't even happened yet. Yet our positions have still gone up by multiples. It's awesome. It's exciting. It's lucrative. It's all of those things. But you have to know how to do it. And so in this episode 217, I'm going to walk you through the steps, reveal my new position, and then show you how I arrived at this position based on what I'm going to tell you right now. All right, so fans of the show may find this part a bit repetitive, but I've never really put this in order. So stay with me on this, right? So when finding a position to put into your portfolio, step one is to understand that we have a 5 to 10 year time horizon when it comes to these positions. The market is impossible to time, so we just don't try to time it. We invest with money we can afford to lose, or we can at least afford to move over to a different place, knowing that if things get bad, we can always move it right back into our bank accounts. The world thinks when you buy a stock, you've spent your money on it. No, you really haven't. You spend your money on a pizza, things you can't sell back after you've bought it, or else you'd have a really hard time selling it back. We're simply relocating money from one place to a different place. It's still ours. We can still have access to it, really at any time. And I put it this way because when I say 5 to 10 year time horizon, it scares some people off, and it really shouldn't. If you want the big rewards, this is the smartest way to do it. And then once you enter these positions, contrarians, you know that they either start running right away or they will run if you just wait long enough. Now, why do they do that? Because step 2 is we find things, sectors, industries, which are inevitable, unavoidable, will happen in the future. It's only a matter of how soon. And this to me is probably the easiest part because you just have to ask yourself, okay, if it's not inevitable, how will it not be? Like you're telling me AI isn't inevitable? Of course it is. What's the alternative? Going backwards? Regressing in our evolution? When has that ever happened before? The arguments I always have with Bitcoin maxis is like the blockchain is inevitable, guys. And everybody knows it. It's being adopted by all the people who matter and will be adopted by everybody at some point. What is the alternative? That everybody uses Bitcoin and the Bitcoin blockchain, and that's never going to happen. That's cult fairy tale nonsense. What's the other alternative? We just keep using the SWIFT system, even though it's horrendously inefficient, and just allow other countries to use blockchain and beat us to the punch. It's absurd. You're telling me silver doesn't have a bright future? It's the most conductive metal on the planet, and it's obvious that the whole world is going to need to electrify into the future. What are they going to do? Again, what's the alternative? There is none. Inevitabilities. Find them. And then once you have found them, we move on to step 3, and that is to find the best of breed. As early as we might be, who's winning right now? Who has a gigantic head start on any other competition that may sprout up into the future? Who already has brand recognition? Who already has a ton of funding? And bonus points, who has shown that they can survive and possibly even thrive in a down market? Because most newer companies aren't going to be able to do that. Yes, seriously, guys, that's rare. And this, believe it or not, is quite contrarian, especially in the crypto space. You have to remember, when you see sentiment out there, which means what crypto Twitter is thinking, and even what some of these respected podcasts, who should know better, are talking about, crypto investors as a whole are still very young and very stupid. So when they see positions like Ethereum, for example, they are far less interested. And the real reason they're less interested is because they don't think that position has the chance to go up as much as other positions lower down the list with smaller market caps. But here's what they don't understand. We've done a whole episode on this. It was called Asymmetry is Already Here. These higher market cap plays can still run a lot. They can still become life-changing money. But the difference is they have such a small chance of losing. And like I said before, when you have multi-bag winners all over the place and very few losers, you end up with a dream portfolio. But every big loss you take, because you were searching for a few more points of upside, is going to really eat in to that overall performance. These contrarian markets will give you all of the asymmetry you could ever dream of. You don't need to risk a greater chance of losing by simply searching for more. It's already there, right in front of you, staring you in the face and screaming at you. Yet for your average crypto dum-dum, it just isn't enough for them. Still, you think they would have learned by now. But they haven't. And this, as I always say, is to our benefit. We take an intelligent approach, go find a market where nobody's intelligent, and we profit wildly off of them. Yes, we profit off of their demise, and I do not feel bad about it because their demise was coming anyway. Somebody has to benefit. May as well be us. But just on crypto alone, I've said this before, I'm really happy with where my portfolio is. And if you ever wondered, like, okay, what does VP think of this particular crypto? I might already own it. Go to nononsenseforex.com/blog and type in the search bar portfolio, and you can see everything I own and what I think about it. But I have what I feel like are the best layer ones. I definitely have the best Oracle. I have the best DeFi platforms. I have the 2 best actual cryptocurrencies. And I'm about to invest in the best of breed in another sector, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do that, we need to get to step 4. And this is very important because I think this is the most difficult one, psychologically for sure. And that is, you have to invest when absolutely nobody cares. This is exactly why this podcast is called the 10-Minute Contrarian and not the 10-Minute Normie. Normies wait until there is buzz about something. And that's why they always risk investing at the very top. They need that confirmation that the crowd is into it because they are unsure of their own abilities to pick a position. They need the market to confirm this for them. We do not. And that is why we get in so early, because we are okay with being a little bit crazy. Now, like I said before, if what I am doing, for example, seems crazy to your average crypto investor, that is how I know I am on the right track. Because again, you can just simply do the opposite of what these jokers do and make lots and lots of money. But when I enter a new position and the market thinks I'm out of my mind, and my own people, you, the contrarians, also think I'm out of my mind, and you don't want to enter the position too, because for whatever reason, nobody's talking about it, or this is dead, or whatever excuse you want to tell yourself. You know, when my own people are against me, that's how I know I'm on the right track. But again, back to this crypto market. If you have a market that does everything wrong, don't you want them to be against you every step of the way? You know, it comes down to emotions. Again, people want that good feeling in their ball sack when they enter position. They want to know for sure that this thing is on its way up. Problem is, this is a recipe for how never ever to get in early. You know, you can still make money this way. With proper money management strategies, you can make money just about anywhere. But you also might be investing at or near a top, and you will be deliberately passing on all those early adopter gains that you could have gotten otherwise. And so I just want to preface all this because I'm going to tell you my position in a moment. And a lot of you are just going to have that instant reaction to where you're going to be like, oh, poopy pants. I don't want to invest in that. And that's great. Believe me. And look, there's no guarantee that this position is going to make money, but I am following the exact same 4-step plan I just told you about. And most importantly, that last step is supposed to garner absolutely no enthusiasm. And I think that's what we're going to get today. And so that's how I'll know I'm on the right track. Because let's go down some of the winners here, recent and older. MP Materials, if you remember that. We got in early because it was inevitable. We know that there's going to be this huge race for rare earth materials. All of the most powerful leaders in the world have really not only said it, but made moves to secure their own. And we still have, we had remaining the only company in all of the United States who mines rare earths still sitting there at $22, barely moving. You know, again, I don't always talk about the stock entries I make, but I had to mention this one. I'm like, guys, look, the United States needs rare earth materials. It's not a question of if. They need it. It's inevitable. Where are they going to get it from? Greenland? Maybe, but that's a 10-year project. We have it in our backyard. You know, but people looked at that position. They're like, oh, but that position's not moving. It's in California. It's had problems in the past. Boo-hoo. Okay, suit yourself. It was SWE. Everybody's like, oh, that's SWE? That's what do they even do? You know, there's the layer one market is so saturated, and Raul Paul likes it, and he's an idiot. And okay, you don't have to invest in it. I did, and now it's way up. All the times we used to talk about gold and silver on the show, everybody's like, okay, Grandpa, if gold and silver was going to go up, it would have done it by now. And man, is that my favorite phrase of all time. I'm like, guys, we invest for the future, not the present. And gold and silver is inevitable. So we here at the podcast loaded up, and we are all much, much happier and much, much richer for it. And again, the things, the reasons that I have been stockpiling gold and silver positions has not even happened yet. And so I am thrilled to have the positions that I have, and I'm thrilled to have gotten in them as early as I did. Moving on to Bitcoin, there was a lot of pushback on this. When I entered in, and I made it public on the blog, when I entered in at 8,600. One of the biggest reasons was from people who didn't even mind Bitcoin at the time. They're like, well, yeah, but bro, I could remember when it was $1,000. It's at 8,600 now. Sound familiar? All those people out there now saying, oh, I'm not investing in Bitcoin at $118,000, LOL. Why would I do that? These are the same people. Early doesn't always mean bottom. Entering positions off the bottom is nice, and we do that as much as we can in the stock world, but I've mentioned here before, the crypto market just moves too fast. Our secret weapon, the monthly chart, just doesn't apply there. You have to take this other approach, especially. Now, you can take this four-step approach with stocks for sure, and you should, but you can add that fifth element, which is the monthly chart, to it to enter at the best time. Crypto, you just can't. So I'll even take it back to when I entered ETH at 280. I got pushed back there. They're like, oh, it's already a dinosaur. VP, they're already building much better layer ones on blockchains like Terra Luna and EOS. Ethereum's slow, and have you seen their gas fees? Oh my God. Again, the biggest part of that step 4 is ignoring the noise, especially the counter noise that's going to come your way. Because that noise is coming from the dumbest group of collective investors we have ever seen in our lifetimes. I want them to laugh at me. If they're not laughing at me, then I'm probably going to second guess my own position. Again, contrarian investing. This is how you do it. And so now it's time to tell you the position I am entering, and it's great because I can also tell you, or kind of walk you through what we do once we're in the position, which is very important. As I've said on my YouTube channel many times, you make all of your money after the trade, not before it. Yet everybody wants to pay all of their attention to what you do before the trade, which is silly. Now, this position is a crypto token, and it is a position I had already taken in the past. Fans of the show will probably know what it is now, but I'll keep going. I entered, it 3x'd, and at that moment, I got on Twitter, and I said, I am taking a third of my position off. I am moving stop loss to break even. And as is the case sometimes, this has happened several times in the crypto world with positions like Trust Wallet and Polkadot and a couple others I am not recalling at the moment. But price will come down in a down market because this market is volatile and take out that break-even stop loss. But that's fine because I've already won. And there's nothing saying I can't come back into this position later. And I said that on Twitter. I'm very interested in re-entering this position when it's time. And the time, I think, is now. So today, while this podcast is uploading, I'm going to go in and take a full position once again on Immutable, ticker symbol IMX. And I can hear some of your inner monologues right now. Web3 gaming, oh, boo-hoo. That is exactly the reaction I am looking for. What's even better is that a lot of even semi-respected people, people that I listen to sometimes on crypto Twitter, they think Web3 gaming is dead for some reason. They think the metaverse is dead. They're like, oh, remember the metaverse? No, man, this shit's still coming. It just takes a long time to build. And I mentioned this before. You have what I call the scumbag founder's dilemma, to where if you don't want to go the VC route, which, if you had the choice to go that route or not go that route, you'd probably choose not to go that route. And so what they did is they had to get money from us. Now, they're not going to mention the part about projects taking 4 to 7 years to build, or even longer in some cases, because then all the frantic chihuahuas known as the crypto market would have never invested in them. They don't have that type of time horizon, so they had to keep that part secret. But had they had not done that, then the majority of these projects would have never gotten off the ground in the first place. And if you invested in some of these individual projects, which I did, then you would have certainly been too early, which I was. But if you want to learn any lesson from this, had you had just stayed into the macro and invested in the companies themselves who host these games on their platforms, well, then you would have had a situation like I had with IMX. So let's walk through the steps now. Is Web3 gaming inevitable? Absolutely. Guys, what's the alternative? We just stay playing the same games we've been playing for the last 15 years with no monetary incentive when you could have monetary incentive built in? Now, the only solid argument I've heard is it's a possibility. It's not even an inevitability, but they said a lot of these Web 2 games are going to start incorporating NFTs into their games, which is what, I said that is probably going to happen. But these Web3 games are going to be first, and they're going to be fully built out for you to be able to do this start to finish. And we already know from version 1.0 of this experiment that if you build it, no matter how crappy it is, Axie Infinity, they will come, and they will come in droves. Because especially with Generation Z, my God, the chance to play video games for money without having to be so elite that you join an esports team is one of the best propositions of all time. And Web3 gaming is how we get there. So that being said, let's go down to step 2, best of breed. You could argue it's either going to be IMX or Gala Games. I've looked at both. I follow both. And I will say IMX is definitely ahead. Plus, they didn't leave investors with a sour taste in their mouth when their founders went out and bought a huge mansion, even though they hadn't really built anything yet. Like, if you're looking for the grown-up play here, IMX is certainly it. And they have a lot going on right now. If you follow them, you know. They are building and thriving in what is currently a down market for Web3 gaming. And then the final step, does anybody in the crypto market give a shit about Web3 gaming right now? No, they do not. Everybody's focus is elsewhere. Web3 gaming is so out of the news cycle right now. But again, if it's not obvious by now, this is precisely when we want to invest. Because as a bonus, we're also going to get lower prices. IMX is currently sitting at about 58 cents right now. If you zoom out, you will see that the all-time high was at the very, very beginning. I have learned not to pay attention to those initial peaks because the tokenomics and everything is completely different, or was completely different back then than it is right now. So let's ignore that high, and let's just go back to the other high it made back in early 2024. Just a little bit over 1 year ago, IMX topped out at, $3.38. That's almost a 6x from where we are right now. And if you don't remember that far back, I can tell you that nobody was talking about Web3 gaming back then either. Or I think Alex Becker was. And that's the reason for the pump. Not because anything happened, but because one guy was talking about it. What's going to happen when these games are actually fully playable and people are making good money off of them and they're showing how much money they make on social media? I said before, the reason why we hold things like gold, silver, Bitcoin, all these other things is for a specific moment in time that we are waiting for. And that scenario I just got done describing to you is the moment that I would be waiting for in the Web3 gaming space. However long it takes. I said we might be, in the past, I said we should be seeing something in 2025, but I said I'm probably going to get this one wrong, and I did. But hopefully, especially now, we're closer to it every day. If you were to invest now and have a 5-10 year time horizon in the Web3 gaming space, I think you're going to be pretty happy with the way this goes down. And if you're unsure if IMX or Gala is going to be one of the big winners in the end, then you can just simply split the baby and go half and half. And then you will have adequate coverage in what I think is an inevitable space, and then you can just simply move on to other things. But if you're unsure about the space even a little bit, at least you can rest assured knowing that you're getting in pretty cheap. So overall, you will have less risk. And, again, if the entire crypto market keeps moving up and we head further and further to that $10 trillion overall market cap, these tokens are going to move up automatically with it, regardless. So you have that going for yourself too. But I am happy and excited to re-enter this position with IMX. And I'll just close by saying too that anytime I bring up a crypto episode, one, I get spammed 20 times more than I would otherwise. So pray for me as I moderate these comments. Two, I would like it better if people didn't ask me what I thought of particular tokens in the comment section. One, there's a chance I already own it, and you just have to go to my portfolio, like I told you how to do. Two, I might just not have any opinion on it. Or three, I might be saving it for a future episode. So I'm certainly not going to let the cat out of the bag because some person in the comments section has asked me about it. So that's my way of saying you can ask, I'm just probably going to ignore you, and it's nothing personal. But if you listen to this entire episode simply to get to one position, at the very least, you should now fully understand not only exactly how to, but what it means to be perceived as crazy, but to end up being early.